We're joined by Eleanor Clift, a Washington-based journalist who's covered many presidential campaigns, none wackier than this one, though I probably
Yeah,
would
exactly.
say. Aides say that he spent more than a week working on this foreign policy address, yet he said this today. Here's a direct quote. America is going to be strong again. America is going to be great again. It's going to be a friend again. Kind of the simplistic platitudes we've come to expect. Was there any meat here?
Well, I think the meat that he wants people to pick up on is that he can approach a podium and be serious and read from the teleprompter and deliver a long, it was at least 40 minutes, and it was full of his statements kind of wrapped in some conventional Republican rhetoric. I mean, he did several times talk about bipartisanship. He did say that he respects the allies. He wants the allies to respect us. But in terms of making anybody who follows foreign policy closely, making them more comfortable, he just unsettled the waters even more. Even the phrase "America First," that goes back to the America Firsters in the U.S. wanted to prevent the U.S. from getting into the Second World War, which we all in this country recognize as the Great War, and we're very proud of our involvement. So the phrase itself was not appropriate for anybody who knows anything about history.
He was saying NATO and Asian allies should basically get their checkbooks out. They're not paying their fair share. That was one of the themes that we've heard in the past, though.
Yes, and he said he would convene a summit among the Asian nations to rebalance the trade deficit. And he would have a summit with the Europeans to address the immigration and also the imbalance in terms of he feels fighting ISIS. He wants everybody to pony up more. He makes the United States sound like we're on our last dollar when we're doing better virtually, financially, virtually than every other country in the world.
I spoke with former President Jimmy Carter a few years ago, and he said that candidates running for president are interesting because they run against China when they're running, but once they're elected, they try and work with China. He took his shots at China again today, didn't he?
Yes, he did. But he did say about China and Russia that we have serious differences, but it's not necessarily deigned that we have to be enemies. And for Donald Trump, that was giving some. And as an international businessman, he has done a lot of work with China, and he, I assume, understands all of the sensitivities that he is dealing with here, and yet he plunges ahead with rhetoric that's designed to please the Republican base, which likes to blame Wall Street or immigrants or China for whatever they're missing in their own economic lives.
It's interesting. He said he will seek advice from outside the foreign policy establishment. He said he would choose the best minds, people with practical solutions, rather than those with perfect resumes and records of failure around the world. Is this really a choice of his, though? It seems as though the establishment doesn't want any part of him, so it would seem natural that he wouldn't be leading towards grabbing this
Yeah, but if he continues to win and he's the Republican nominee, a lot of those people who said never Trump will be there. And I think 100 respected people in Republican foreign policy circles have, written a letter, worried about him, urging him to consider their positions. And I think they'd all be anxious to get in on it if, in fact, this materializes as the Republican nomination, which it looks like it will.
We've got about 20 seconds. Texas Senator Ted Cruz tried to steal some of the limelight today, picking a running mate, even though he has not won the nomination, which is rare to see that sort of thing. Your thoughts on that?
Well, Ronald Reagan did that in 1976 when he was trying to get the nomination away from then President Gerald Ford, and he picked a Pennsylvania senator named Richard Schweiker, thinking he'd get the Pennsylvania delegation, and not a single one of those delegates shifted. So the ploy has been tried in the past, and I think Richard Schweiker, then senator, liberal senator, was a more convincing vice president running mate than Carly Fiorina, who did not do well in her own presidential run. But she is from California, and after Indiana, California is Ted Cruz's last stand. And the hope is, I guess, that she can attract some votes from Republicans in California. It's pretty desperate.
And it's also another interesting phase in this rather interesting campaign.
Yeah, exactly.
Eleanor, thanks so much. Always a delight talking to you.
Thank you.